like a collab stream, and it's been one hell of a day for Manchester City fans. We've had some mad news. LB, what's been going on, mate? Let everyone know.
Well, how long have you got? I thought we was only doing a half an hour stream. Okay, so we've had. I'm not going to do it in like time order because I don't even know how it all dropped. But we got a Bernardo Silva contract extension. We've got City have apparently agreed personal terms with Matheus Nunes at Wolves, and potentially are putting a bid, if you believe Fabrizio Romano, of £50 million. You've also got Eze. Apparently now he's pushing for a move and he's getting a little bit frustrated. So, you've also got Jeremy Doku, who's now apparently signed his contract at Manchester City, bro. So it's been a crazy
and Laporte's
day.
gone. Laporte's announced he's leaving as well.
Yeah.
Crazy. Honestly, crazy. So we've had a mad day. Make sure you run up the likes, guys. Decent numbers in here so far, obviously. Hit the like button and, see Leonard in the chat. He says, big up LB and City lads. Love that, mate. Got some mad news, so make sure you let us know in the chat and everything what you think. But yeah, LB, take it away, mate. Let's see what's been going on.
Let's talk about Matheus Nunes then first, bro, because that's obviously the big news at the moment. Matheus Nunes, terms apparently have now been agreed between the club and the player. Now, I don't know if this is facts. I don't know if you know this, but does he have the same agent as Bernardo Silva?
I believe he might do. Is that George Mendes? I think that'd be right. And obviously, he left Sporting last year. We obviously knocked them out of the Champions League. Remember him playing. There was talk of him coming to City, and Wolves actually broke their transfer record as a club. He spent 42.2 million on him, which would have been about 50 million euros at the time. And that's obviously the bid City have put in now. So, yeah, in terms of agents, Bernardo just signed a new deal. So if that is his agent, George Mendes runs Wolves, says Luzul in the chat. See that? And yeah, it's a mad one, really. If he is to come to City, that's just Mendes getting another cut out of another transfer in it. So, yeah, that's a mad one, that.
Yeah, so that looks like that. Obviously, as well, we've just signed a contract extension with Bernardo. So Bernardo's agent, George Mendes, is going to get a lot of cash in that as well. Fabrizio Romano then said an hour ago, he understands that Manchester City have now submitted an initial bid to Wolverhampton for Matheus Nunes, told the proposal is in excess of 50 million euros, which is what, 44 million pound, with add-ons discussed in the total package. I don't know about you, bro. That fee seems quite low. Like, I thought the way the market's going, I thought this would have been like a 60, 70 million pound transfer, but it seems like we might be able to get a deal done here relatively cheap.
Well, I think there's a couple of factors that have made it a little bit cheaper. Obviously, you've got one being Wolves, obviously, in a little bit of turmoil, almost got relegated last season. Obviously, stayed up in the end quite comfortably, but at a period of time, obviously, when Lopetegui came in, they were bottom of the league. I believe they finished about 13th in the end, so they finished pretty well. But a statement was actually released to their fans at the start of the season just a few weeks ago, basically saying they're in a terrible position financially. FFP's got them in the mud. They need to sell players. Obviously, we saw Neves go to Saudi. He went to Al Hilal. That was a pretty big fee. And yeah, because he wants to leave, obviously City were looking at him last summer. Wolves are desperate to make money, generate a bit of cash. They've not really got a leg to stand on to start saying he's 80, 70, whatever million. So to get back what they bought him for, I think it's pretty decent for them.
Yeah, it looks like they're going to make a little bit of a profit. I'm checking it here on Transfermarkt. It says here they bought him for 45 million euros.
Yeah.
So if we end up paying 55 million euros for him, they're going to make 10 million euros in
they're
what,
basically
a year?
paying for his wages for last year, aren't they? Really? He'd probably be decent. It's a break even on a minute, to be fair. So,
what's your opinion on him, bro? Because I've done a couple of streams on him now already.
Yeah.
And to be honest with you, like, people in the chat, people in the streams, they're a little bit mixed. Like, they're not.
Yeah.
Some people like him. Some people really don't want him. Like, some people think it's a bit underwhelming. Like, do you even want him at City? Like, what's your thoughts on him?
Honestly, that goal he scored against Chelsea last year was a joke. I've not watched him. I can't lie. I've not watched him too much. He was at Sporting. Obviously, went both games against them. Watched him live. He did stand out a little bit, but it's hard to look at players on a team where you can pump somebody. What was it? 6-0 on aggregate, 5-0 on aggregate. It's difficult to assess a player like that. So for me, I've not watched him too much, but he seems like a player that would slot in nicely to Pep's system. I watched him against United in that 1-0 loss just over a week ago, and he looked decent in that. So You know, he's signed for Wolves for big money. He's playing in the Premier League. He's had a year under his belt playing for them. And if Pep and City want him, then I trust he's going to be a good player, yeah.
Interesting. Guys, keep your comments coming in, man. I'm going to read out some comments in a minute. Make sure you run up the likes. 300 people in here already. Let's get those likes past 100. Listen, I'm kind of with you, man. I've not seen too much of him. I thought he was very good against United last weekend. I thought he was very, very good there. I did have the Wolves game on it when they played Brighton, but I didn't really see too much of it. I was focusing on the Liverpool game, so it's a little bit annoying. But look, listen, I think for the price, it's looking like a good deal. I think it probably means goodbye to Calvin Phillips. What do you think on that? Do you agree or?
Yeah, well, you know, with another midfielder coming in, it's the kind of profile of midfielder I wouldn't be expecting to come in if Calvin Phillips was going to stay. Do you know what I mean? He's not particularly all out attacking. So for me, I think it probably is goodbye for Calvin Phillips. Last week, obviously, we saw, you know, he might be getting loaned out. He might be going to Liverpool. So for me, yeah, it's a weird one with Calvin Phillips because he doesn't seem to have had that much game time. But if Pep can't trust him to come on and bash into a few people and, you know, see out a game against Newcastle, then I don't know where he does play, to be fair. So
yeah, no, I agree. I think it's looking bleak for Calvin Phillips, especially with the news that came out last week that City are now prepared to let him leave, whether that be on a loan deal or on a permanent transfer. Ian M in the chat says box to box can create. Don't think Pep is looking for goals from Nunes. Well, I don't think he is either, because if he is, then he's going for the wrong player, to be honest with you. Asgar says if we get Rodri injured, this team is gone. Rodri is the most important player we have. Dash says LB and Luke, we have to remember that people we are linked with, Eze, Nunes, were playing in teams that severely lacked an attacking threat or had terrible strategy / tactics. That's a fair comment, isn't it?
Yeah, I'd agree that it kind of links into the point I just said about watching him at Sporting last year. It's difficult to see a player like him in a team that's losing against us. So, you know, whether he comes into City's system and dominates the ball and he's a different player, like he'd have been at Sporting, to be fair, one of the best teams in Portugal, it's an interesting one. Yeah, I think he would be a good signing. Somebody's mentioned in the chat he's suspended. Not sure about that.
No, he is. He got only for one game. I think it was 2 yellow cards he got on the weekend
against Brighton. Yeah, I do remember now. Actually, to be fair,
so he's done. He's out for one goal. Well, do you know on the whole Eze situation?
Yeah.
Where are you at with Eze? Do you think, first of all, do you want Eze? What sort of fee would we pay for Eze? And is there a possible situation where we could get both Eze and Nunes, or is that too much?
I personally think it's one or the other. Obviously, De Bruyne getting injured, Calvin Phillips potentially going. I think it's a one or the other job. So I don't know whether we've sort of approached for both of them to make both clubs sweat a little bit. We've got options, so that reduces their options in terms of selling. If they want to sell deep down, they're going to have to reduce the price a little bit. So it gives us a bit of leverage in a deal. But yeah, I think it's one or the other. We might go and get both, who knows? But I think it is a one or the other job. And for me, Eze, I think, a great player. Elise has obviously just signed that contract extension, so there's no way he's going to leave. Zaha's already moved on to Galatasaray, I believe, earlier in the summer. So for Eze to leave now, I think it'd be a bit weird late in the transfer window. That's what they were saying as well with Palace. They don't want to sell him this late, but at the end of the day, if the deal arrives that brings in 70, 80 million, then let's just see, mate. But you know, they signed him 3 years ago from QPR, so it would be a decent return on him. But he's a great player, and so.
Yeah, well, if you look at his numbers, mate, he got 10 goals and 4 assists. And I think getting those numbers last year for Palace and how negative they were under Vieira for that 12, especially that 12-game period. And, you know, Hodgson's coming. He's not exactly a manager that plays mad attacking football. Yeah. So I think that they are great numbers. Listen, I don't think he played particularly well against Arsenal the other night. I know some people, it's funny because some people think he did, but I don't think he had a particularly good game. But I've seen enough from him to think he's probably worth a gamble. And if you're only spending 50 million euros on Matheus Nunes, I don't think it's a silly suggestion to say that we could potentially get both, but it will be obviously a big transfer to pull off. As you said, Palace don't really want to be letting Eze go. And if they do, they're going to want a big fee. Listen, let's move it on. Before we do, guys, make sure you drop a like on the stream. 400 people in the stream big now. Numbers. Yeah, there's only 109 likes, man. You know what I mean?
It's poor. Big numbers, but poor from the numbers is what I'd say. Yeah, run up the likes, guys. Free to do. Hit the subscribe button as well. Big up LB. jumping on the stream. If you've not seen his channel before and you're from mine, obviously make sure you head over, hit a sub. He's got some new stuff going on there, so make sure you drop a sub, guys.
Appreciate that, bro. Listen, we spoke about it a little bit at the start, but I want to expand on it. Bernardo Silva obviously signed a new contract extension, a 1-year deal, keeping him to the club until 2026. Now, he has in the past expressed his desire to go to Benfica at 32. One of the problems that he's got, because he's not had to move away from Manchester City to, say, Barcelona in the last 2 years, it's kind of difficult for him to leave City now, go to another club, and then make that move at 32 years old. Yeah. Are we expecting Bernardo to run down his contract now to 0 and then just leave on a free transfer when he's 32? And if that is the case, would you be happy with that?
Yeah, well, obviously, last few years, Bernardo wanted to go, so it's not hidden at all. Everyone knows Bernardo didn't want to be here. He wanted to go to Spain or Portugal or wherever he could get a big fee from. And yeah, PSG obviously didn't want to pay for him either. Bernardo, for me, is one of our best players. I'd say it like I did a couple of years ago. He's one of the best few players in the world. I think he's so underrated. And to sign a 3-year deal, it's just 1 year on top. I was watching a stream before, like I said, just 1 year extra from what he already had. But he's now got that release clause in there. So he's got the security that if somebody comes in and pays that, whatever it would be, he can leave if he wants to. And he's also got bigger wages, and he's now got 3 years security. If he got a big injury, he's under contract at City still. So he's going to get paid for 3 years no matter what. And as you said, if he wants to go to Benfica when he's 32 in 3 years' time, I think he could just run down his contract and go there. That's where he wants to kind of finish his career. So that'd make sense to me, yeah, if he does go to Benfica in a few years.
Bro, what are the have you any idea of what the numbers are on the release clause? Because before, a lot of people were speaking about this. I've seen 25 million, 35 million, 45 million, 50 million. Have we got any idea of what it actually is? Or
I don't think anyone knows. I don't think it's published either. I think it's one of them where if it gets activated, and Bernardo would leave. But I don't think it's something that happened this summer. He's not going to make a big statement contract signing just to leave now. People saying that he's signed. I saw a tweet earlier. He's basically just signed so he can leave. That wouldn't make any sense. He's on big money, big contract, just won the treble. I think he's at least going to stay another year, and I personally think 3 in total. But yeah, I think the release clause just gives him the satisfaction that if in a year's time, Real Madrid or PSG or somebody comes in and says 60 million and that happens to be the release clause, he can then leave under contract. Yeah, big numbers in it. 450 people nearly, 150 likes. So we need to run them up, and we'll definitely get some of these streams going again if people enjoy them.
Yeah, facts. Yeah, it's interesting because some people in the chat are saying, Fabrizio said there's no release clause, but this is contradicting information on this. All I would say on the release clause is next summer, if he'd not signed his contract, next summer he'd only have 1 year left on his deal. So we would have lost him for cheap anyway. Yeah. So I wouldn't worry about it. What I'd say is, I don't know why this happens all the time, but when we sign a player and they got a release clause, people start to lose their mind. Like, remember when we signed Haaland? Like, there were people out there genuinely not excited about the Haaland transfer because all they were doing straight away was worrying about the release clause. Enjoy the fact that he signed a new contract. I agree with you. I think he probably will stay until he's 32, and then he'll probably go to Benfica on a free transfer, which I have no problem with. He'll be 32 years old. He wants to leave, and we would have kept him 5 or 6 years longer than he actually wanted to be here. Yeah. He's a fantastic player. Wherever he plays, whether he plays right wing, whether he plays in the middle, he's so versatile. I think in the big games, the Champions League games, the games against Liverpool, United, Chelsea, Arsenal, he's absolutely crucial. He's one of our number 1 players. So just enjoy the fact that he's signed a new deal. And if he leaves, he goes, isn't it?
Well, yeah, I think, to be fair, I just think PSG is stupid. If they're the club they make out to be, they want to win the Champions League, they should have easily put in 60, 70 million. That's a bargain for Bernardo Silva. We were just talking 5 minutes ago about Eze, who's a great player, don't get me wrong, but he's nowhere near Bernardo Silva. So why Real Madrid or PSG or someone didn't come in and just bid 60 million? Because that's all City were asking for 3 or 4 months ago. It makes no sense to me at all, because he is, if you sign him, you are getting one of the best players in the world. And that's why I think he is the best signing we've made all summer. Or even for the... Maybe not as good as Haaland, but honestly, what a signing Bernardo Silva is.
Yeah, no, factual. I completely agree. Guys, the numbers in here are crazy. You're approaching 500 numbers now. Get those likes up, man. Now run up the likes. 186 likes. Let's see if we can get them past 200, man. Make sure you subscribe to the It's LB YouTube channel and MCFC lads as well. Let's touch on Jeremy Doku, bro. I know it's not officially been announced, probably going to come tomorrow, but it's all but done. Sacha Tabrieri has said today that Jeremy Doku has completed his €65 million transfer from Stade Rennes to Manchester City on a 5-year contract. Seen much of him? If you've not, have you seen any highlights? Like, what's your initial sort of thought on the Jeremy Doku to Man City deal?
Yeah, I'll say for starters, I've never watched him live. I'm obviously not like a tactical expert, but he looks like a raw guy. If you look at his highlights, he's got the pace, he's got the trickery. If you saw that goal he scored, I believe in the Euros as well, that looked good. And he did impress at 19 in the Euros. He's just 21, I believe. So he looks a good signing. A lot of money is resting on him, and obviously he's not going to actually see Pep for about a month, to be fair, because he's got a couple of weeks without him, and then a couple of weeks international break. But hopefully he can get off to a flying start. And yeah, he reminds me, as much as I don't want to say it, reminds me a bit of Sane. When he came in, this unknown entity, young, came in, pacey, a bit unpredictable. He's not really the player that we've got at the moment. So yeah, somebody said in the chat, breaking Trent and Robbo's ankles. He might be that guy. He might be that guy. So let's just see. We won't jump to any quick conclusions, but he might be that guy.
It's funny how you say Sane, because I watched him last weekend against FC Metz. I watched the full game. We did a watch along for it. And I think he looks like Sterling.
Really?
The way that he plays. Yeah, I think he plays a lot like Sterling. He's very, very low down to the ground. He's got that explosive movement, that acceleration. He can go left, he can go right. There's a couple of things that I would say. First of all, I think he looks miles better on his weaker foot than Sterling. That's no disrespect to Sterling. That's just a fact. We all know that Sterling on his weaker foot wasn't great. He looks much more. I mean, in the game against FC Metz, I think he had like 3 or 4 shots just with his left foot. He seemed more confident going at goal. Which was something that Sterling, towards the end of his City career and at spells during his career, sort of lacked that confidence one-on-one. He seems like he's not really fussed at that. He can play off the right, he can play off the left, which is obviously great news, a little bit of versatility, because something that I do think has gone under the radar a little bit is our lack of cover for Jack Grealish. We've used Foden there. I think there's a reluctance to put Foden back on the wing. I think we want to put him in the midfield. Cole Palmer is not a left winger, he's a right winger and might even be loaned out. So what the signing of Jeremy Doku, whilst yes, he'll play predominantly, I would imagine, on the right, I think you're going to see him on the left-hand side a lot more than people expect. But I think it's going to be a great sign. I think, but like people like you who go to the game week in, week out, I think he's going to get bums off seats, mate. I think people are going to be absolutely buzzing about watching him. I think he's going to frustrate people a little bit as well, just like Sterling did.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? He's a winger that takes on players, will be dispossessed a lot, probably lose possession quite a bit. But he's a player that I think will excite. And the only thing I would say as well, you've got to give him time, bro. You know what I mean? You can't be expecting, what is he, 21? It's 20, 21, something like that. You can't be expecting him to come in and just start slamming. So I think it's a really exciting signing. And I'm actually buzzing. I think it's a great price. And I think City have done really, really well here.
Yeah, well, I've just seen somebody in the chat also touch on something we'll come to in a minute. But yeah, I think he's a great signing. He's obviously, as I said, a different profile to the kind of the wingers or players we've had. And it is exciting. But yeah, Perón as well, leaving earlier today. That was confirmed to Las Palmas, I believe, Spanish team. And, that's an interesting one. What do you think about
that? Okay, so it's a very interesting signing this. So when we signed him, the news that came out was that he didn't want to go on loan, and that's why he stayed with Manchester City all of the like January through the end of the season. And of course, he knew he was never going to play at City. He was never going to come in and just start playing in a team that was going for the treble, right? I watched him again in a full match. I watched him for the under-21s Argentina, like South American Euro tournament or whatever. We did a watch along for it. It's quite funny actually when we did that. And I thought he looked really, really good. I thought he was a very interesting player that I struggled to compare him to another player. He was very defensively minded. He was sometimes sitting really deep, breaking up play, but then he'd get forward and he made like Lampard-esque runs into the box and actually got a goal very similar to sort of the typical Lampard where he just runs into the penalty area and gets a goal and looks really promising. And then obviously he joined City. Everyone was really excited. Never played. Didn't really get any minutes in pre-season. Hasn't played at all since pre-season. And now he's going on loan. So I just get the feeling of like, I might be reading too much into this, but I just get the feeling of like maybe has Pep not felt him that much? Like is he not feeling Perone as like a potential player for this club? I'm not sure. I think that from the small amount of minutes that I've seen, looks a promising and exciting player who's versatile. But I'm just like, why has he not played more than he has, especially
Yeah.
in pre-season?
Yeah, I know what you mean. It's a little bit of a strange one. I believe he is only 20 though, so he's obviously got a long way to go. Young player. When he came in, as you said, he barely played. I think he got like 15 minutes against Bournemouth when we were 4-0, 4-1 up. So he's not had any first team experience. And then he's gone out on loan to a pretty low standard Spanish first division side. The manager there clearly wants him. He was raving about him. It seems like he's going to be one of their better players. So the way I see it, he's going to go there. We'll see how he's doing at January. Hopefully, he gets a lot of minutes, a lot of first team action, and he might develop there with a nice play style. But yeah, it's a strange one for him to come in and then go. But yeah, it's been a mad day today.
But the one thing I'd to just add on the Perone deal, bro, is Fabrizio Romano said there is no buy option.
Yeah.
So I think that comes across as positive, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's purely for development. That it just means that it's the same as when not Cole Palmer, James McAtee, Tommy Doyle went to Sheffield United. They've gone there purely to develop. Obviously, there's a possibility with these kind of deals that they might get bought at the end of it. Who knows? But for me, I feel like this one for sure. There's no way they're going to sign him. He's just going there to kind of improve as a player, get some minutes. Pep's clearly saying you're not gonna play here, so you might as well go get some first team minutes. And it's very rare you see a young player like him. We saw Phil Foden at 17 break into the team, but you're not going to see that again for another few years, in my opinion. It's not something that happens very often. So these guys need to go out on loan and get a bit of experience.
Yeah, now before we wrap up, we might take a few questions. I might put a Q&A thing in the chat so you guys can ask us a few questions before we wrap up. Before we get into the Q&A though, what's your thoughts on Cole Palmer, bro? Do you think we should keep hold of him, or do you think we do need to loan him out? Like, where's your head at with Palmer, bro?
Well, this season he's looked very good. I think obviously a couple of goals in 4 games. He's not getting trusted though. Still in the big moments where. I believe last season at the start of the year, he did get chucked in for the odd home game. He'd, get a few minutes here and there, but it seems heading into the Premier League season, he's not going to get picked. So for me, if he's not going to get picked and Pep isn't going to, trust him in any games, he needs to go. That's the bottom line. But I feel like he should get trusted a little bit. He's, performed. Community Shield had a nice goal, good header in the Super Cup. Effectively won us the game, took it to penalties, and yeah, I want to see him trusted a bit, but at the end of the day, the fact of the matter is, if he's not going to get trusted, there's no point in being here. But let's see, mate. Let's see.
Yeah, no, I agree, bro. I was told, right, from a source close to the player over a year ago, that he was told that when Mahrez left the football club, he would step into Mahrez's position. The problem is last year, which was meant to be sort of development year, the guy only played 9 minutes as a right winger, which really sort of killed his ability. So I think he should be trusted, but if not, a loan is probably the best option for him. Let's have a look at some Q&A questions before we wrap up, man. Are we getting Eze and Nunes? Probably not, Marcus. Lazuli says, are you worried if Eze comes in, Foden will go back to primarily playing as a winger? I am. What do you reckon about
that? Well, we don't know about that one. It's a strange one, isn't it? Because obviously Doku coming in, he's going to be playing wide. I'm not sure. I think if Eze and Nunes came in, that would certainly push some players out wide, even Bernardo maybe from time to time. But yeah, I think hopefully Foden will play in the middle this season, because against Newcastle it was a joke, honestly. So yeah, hopefully not.
Yeah, Zach in the chat says, who do you think City should sign in your opinion? Me, I'm going to go. I think we need to sign someone slightly more attacking. So I'd probably edge towards Eze. However, I do understand that Pep doesn't trust Calvin Phillips, and we do need cover for Rodri, because we can't not have cover for Rodri. So I don't understand the reasoning why we might favour Nunes, but I think we should focus on more of an attacker. But where are you at with that?
Yeah, I agree. De Bruyne is injured, so he's going to be missing half the season. We need to get a player that's going to be playing more attacking. So if I could get one player, it'd probably be Eze at this point, because Florian Wirtz isn't moving, is he? So.
Yeah, and final question before we wrap up. Courtney says, Harwood and Doyle, what's happening with them? Well, I think there were a couple of rumours saying that potentially Wolves might want Doyle on a sort of loan deal as part of the Matheus Nunes deal, if that goes through. Harwood Doyle, I'm completely unaware of why nobody is seemingly gone for him. I think City only want £15 million, which in my opinion is a very, very good value. Anything to add on either of them two, bro?
Oh yeah, Tommy Doyle went Hoffenheim. No, not Hoffenheim. Schalke, was it? Schalke, I believe, for a period of time, or somewhere in Germany anyway. HSV, one of them, Hamburg. He went somewhere in Germany anyway. And he didn't do too well. He then obviously went down to Cardiff, looked all right there. And then he's had a full season in Sheffield United, who got promoted. So for me, he's got a lot of experience, not in the Premier League, but at a decent level. So why somebody's not knocking on the door trying to sign him, I don't know. Why Sheffield United aren't trying to buy him after the season he gave them last year is also a weird one. So I don't know what's going on there. I don't think he's got a place really at City by the looks of it. He's not really had any kind of, go in the first team recently here. So I think he will leave. And Harwood Bellis as well is a strange one. I'm surprised Burnley haven't bought him after, how he played for Company last year. So yeah, they're both strange ones. It's almost as if they're both just sort of sat there waiting for either club to maybe, pay the right amount. City have clearly got a fee they're demanding, and neither club wants to pay that. So it is a weird one, but I don't personally see them staying at City.
No, nor do I. Listen, it's been an interesting one. Janice in the chat's worried about our creativity, and I sort of agree. That's why I said that for me, I'd probably edge towards Eze, but everyone's got their own sort of views on where we should go from this. Bro, it's been a good one, man. It's quite interesting, this system, isn't it? You know what I mean?
The format's looking good. Yeah, I don't know if anyone realises, but me and LB both on phones here. So the camera quality is decent. Audio might not be as good, but if you have a look, if you're sat watching now on a TV or like a laptop or something that's like formatted like horizontally, we'll be next to each other. If you're looking on a phone, we're going to be on, like, it's weird, guys. So just have a look. Hit the likes before we head out. And yeah, it's been a good one, man. We'll have to get some more of these going. Big numbers in here, big likes. And yeah, everyone's loving it. So yeah, nice one, LB. Yeah, it's been good, man.
Yeah, man. Guys, we'll wrap it up there. That's what my 5th stream of the day. Hit the like button, as Luke said. And subscribe to the XLB channel that you're on now, and MCFC lads. And people, will catch you in the next one. See you later.
Nice one. See you in a bit, guys.